Well, let's move on to trick-or-treating. This is like, obviously a much more modern practice, but, I did a little bit of research on this. It looks like the roots get traced back to something called Samhain. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right.
Yeah, an old pagan.
Yeah. And then there was medieval souling / guising.
Yeah.
And then there was a U.S. boom after World War II. Sugar rationing ended, and this sort of shift to suburbia in the 1950s that really kind of dumped fuel on the fire of the concept of trick-or-treating. But that's just kind of I think the wave tops from what I could tell. Do you know anything beyond that on like kind of the history of trick-or-treating, or how it kind of went from those old pagan practices to the modern kid knocking on a door and somebody being ready with a bowl on the other side?
Yeah. I mean, I can speak to things generally.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm not a subject matter expert.
Yeah.
I'm an entertainer who loves history. Because I've been around real historians, and and when they focus on a single topic, they're intense.
Yeah.
So again, from what I understand, this is another thing that we inherited from Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Halloween, I guess, as we know it, originated as a pagan tradition, and it was based in mischief. Mm-hmm. And that came over to the United States, and in those early colonial days, it was not uncommon for young kids and it was socially encouraged, young kids to go out and be mischievous during that time period. And I don't know what they were doing in the colonial period. I doubt that they were egging houses back then, but they were it was kind of just accepted that kids would get out and get into a little trouble, and it was just kind of a tradition.
Back in colonial times, candy wasn't what it was today.
No.
There was barely hard candies back then.
No,
like soft candies, chocolates, things like that. That didn't come along until the 20th century, really, or late 19th century. Right.
And that never became married to Halloween until almost the mid 20th century. In the early 20th century, it did, Halloween started becoming more of a social event.
Yeah.
But it was still very much rooted in just kids going out, and they would wax windows of people's houses and stuff like that. And they were probably throwing eggs and dumping over toilet paper, dumping over trash cans and everything like that. But again, it was like probably not an ideal thing, but it was generally, I don't know if the word accepted in society was a thing, but it was just part of.
Yeah. How do you think that happened, where it goes from general rowdiness to sort of this parent approved, you're walking around with your kids, and it's much more like kind of where we are today, where it's a much more, I'm sure, well, I'll caveat that. I'm sure the police stay busy on Halloween with shenanigans that do inevitably happen.
Yeah, because it still happens. It's part of the DNA of Halloween.
But it's such a tamed down for most people. It's like, oh, you take your kids out, they dress up. It's, everybody's if the light on the porch is on, that means they're taking trick-or-treaters. If it's not, then don't go up there. It's almost like a formalized. Everybody knows the rules.
Yeah.
Today, I wonder how we got there.
It generally has to do with suburbanization. Post World War II, you had a flight out from the city into the mass creation of the American suburb. So now everybody had their own. They lived in these cookie cutter neighborhoods that were lined up for miles. Before that, that would have been a hard thing to do. And it was done. It was done in places like Anoka, Minnesota, which, if I'm not mistaken, is considered the Halloween capital of the United States.
Really?
Yeah. Anoka was just a couple towns over from where I grew up. That's where my mother grew up.
Oh,
but
okay.
a lot of trick-or-treating origins, it started in places like Anoka, which was pre-World War II. Suburbanization happened after World War II, and now you have these.
That was the baby boom.
Boom, and then you had these young families that were all right next to. Where before you were either pretty much rural, or you were in the city, and it could be hard to coordinate something like trick or treating as we know it when you're having to walk up apartment buildings and everything like that. Well, with suburbanization now, there's a way for kids basically to go door to door and engage in this the purpose of trick or treating, and easily just acquire candy. It also has to do with, America went through post World War II, a kind of second moral revolution, where now, because of suburbanization, these communities were able to be a lot more proactive and kind of build concrete community events that that occurred.
This was also kind of probably along those lines, the boom of like the backyard neighborhood barbecue.
Yes.
Block parties.
Yes.
Things like that.
And so they curbed all this mischievous behavior by essentially, community leaders at the local level, and they got all these families on board. It's like, no, you take your kids with, and we'll all do this together, and we can monitor what everybody's up to. We're all out. The adults are watching the kids. It's a lot harder to go out and egg houses when there's adults walking around and everything like that.
I know, like today in modern days, it's hard to go get away with something because the street, if you live in any sort of normal neighborhood,
damn ring cameras.
Ring cameras, but also the streets are, the sidewalks are packed with parents going around, and like, you're not getting away with shit. Like it's legitimately
it became a well-coordinated event, and I again, you could curb the mischief behavior doing that, and also it was built into that post World War II that sense of community that America was developing because of the suburbanization of America.
Yeah, it kind of ties into this the overall American dream, where people were moving, like you said, out of apartments and duplexes and things like that in the city into the suburbs, where now it was a car in the driveway.
Yeah.
It was, your own single family home, a little ranch style house, probably. You could order them out of Sears Roebuck catalog if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Like it's, these big grid systems and all of that. And then, that kind of turned into everybody's also got to have a TV. Everybody's got to have a fridge. Yeah. And that you also see, kind of parallel.
Keep it up with the Joneses.
Yeah, exactly. Like you kind of see in parallel this rise into what is now like iconically, world-class consumerism in America.
Yeah, and look I don't know if I doubt that this was like initially I doubt that there was an initiative by the candy company. Mars was around, of course. I don't think there was an initiative by the candy companies by any means, but they saw the potential in it because in the beginning, the majority of treats that were handed out were homemade. People would spend a lot of time baking their own candy.
Today, that's a good way to get the cops called.
That's a good way to get the cops. But back, that was the norm back then. But now you could see how the candy companies saw that. We need to get in on this Halloween thing. Like, this is a moneymaker.
Candy wars were at a fever pitch themselves at that point. Like between Mars and Hershey, they were in a straight up brawl. Yeah, for shelf space and trying to corner that market and take up market share. It's really interesting. There was a really good podcast that I listened to called it's the Acquired Podcast. A lot of people, it's popular. A lot of people have heard of that, I'm sure. But they did one on the Mars family and their kind of evolution, like the multiple failed businesses that the senior Mars had back in the late 1800s and what it came to be, and how for a long time they had zero marketing budget. They would not market. They just went off of pure quality of product, and it's really interesting stuff. But it gets into this basically the battle that happened between the Hershey company and the Mars company, and when
kind of a Coca-Cola Pepsi thing.
Yeah, and I'm not as familiar with the Coca-Cola Pepsi rivalry. I'm sure there's a great story there. Let's actually, I'm gonna write that down for later because I bet there is a good story there. But yeah, and like their invention of things like the Hershey bar, and then Mars coming in and inventing the M&M, melts in your mouth, not your hand. That sort of like just these genius things that they did. It's really interesting, and I do wonder, Halloween and the growth of that as a kind of recognized holiday that everybody
I think it's the second most popular holiday in America, or second or third. I know Christmas
has got to be
number one, but
I would imagine 4th of July is bigger than Halloween. I would guess Thanksgiving would be.
I live in San Antonio, so it's completely muddled for me.
Because I would put Halloween at like 4th, because I'd probably put it like Christmas. I don't know what would be either. Thanksgiving and 4th of July seem like a tie for second for me. You know, because I don't know which one would be bigger, and especially what do we consider size here for the holiday? Is it how much money is spent or generated? Because like Halloween is a multi-billion-dollar industry.
That's where we would, that's where we would equate
certainly
that.
Christmas is number one by a large stretch as far as money spent. Like people fucking lose their mind and put themselves into debt over Christmas.
I mean, people. Well, and that's the thing. It's like, well, look at Halloween compared to Christmas. Like, people make songs about it. Mm-hmm. There's a lot. You're expected to purchase things in order to engage in it.
You gotta get a special outfit.
It's a special outfit. It's a community thing. Mm-hmm. There's parties that revolve around it.
Usually no church service associated with Halloween. Unless you're, one of those folks that moves to Salem.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So you can
then maybe you've got some sort of religious
so you can be
ceremony.
a witch. Yeah. By the way, I want to say for the record, I mentioned that thing about Stevie Nicks earlier. I absolutely love Stevie Nicks' music.
Big Stevie Nicks fan?
I love Stevie Nicks. Yeah. I saw her 3 years ago.
Oh, really?
Mid 70s, still up there dancing around like she's
all of those musicians from the 70s and 80s, if they're still out there, the ones that are still out there performing, they're killing it.
She was nimble. She was moving around freely on that stage.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Voice was still as beautiful as ever.
Just crushing it
all
still.
All black. Yeah.
That's so cool. Well, I think the only thing I want to cover on trick-or-treating is there's some sort of persistent myths out there, like that there's razor blades in candy or poison
candy. Another thing that happened in the 80s.
Well, so those are real. Were you ever able to find instances of like this actually happening, or was it all hysteria?
I think we're still living in we're still living in that wives' tale. Part of that, because as far as I know, there's never been any proven instances where that actually happened. It was the same. It was, we grew up in the 90s. We heard things about Marilyn Manson. Every little child in America heard the rumor about Marilyn Manson and the rib that was cut out so he could do certain things to himself. That never happened.
Really?
But everybody...
That's a myth?
That's a myth. Everybody... Oh. Yeah, everybody... But everybody heard it and everybody bought into it.
I never questioned it.
Yeah.
I mean, the dude was weird enough. You're like, oh, yeah. I mean, if anybody was going to do it, it'd probly be him. You know?
Or that he was Paul from the Wonder Years. Yeah.
Oh, I never heard that one.
Yeah. But yeah, it's I don't think there's any documented cases where there was ever drugs or razor blades put into candies.
I need to do a better job of getting people to show up in the comment section of these things. So if anybody has found real instances like news reports of poison candy or razor blades or anything preposterous like that was like actually happened, somebody was charged, because you would be charged with
I would imagine,
and it would be easy to figure out who did that. So
because everybody had their own candy back
let
then.
us know in the comments section whether you're
and trust me, bro is not a source, okay?